So I just got back from watching Transformers Rise of the Beast. And it was good for a Transformers movie. Alright. It was good as a standard blockbuster movie, but it still carries flaws brought over from the Bayformers films, with the first issue being that it felt more like the human characters took up way too much screen time. Don't get me wrong, Noah and Elena were great human characters, but the other members of the Autobots, Maximals, and Terrorcons were underdeveloped outside of Prime, Primal, and Mirage. The best part of the movie was the action scenes. I feel like the CGI was really done well here. Like they brought out their A game. The scenes were very visceral while being easy to understand for the eyes, much like the Bumblebee movie. Although there were some times wherein the CGI kind of felt off, like this one scene that had Primal walking on the beach, but that's pretty few and far in between. I'm just saying that, in these action scenes, the Transformers really shine. Prime was done pretty well. He's broken, but there's potential in him becoming the legendary Autobot commander that we all look up to, which is embodied by Primal himself. But personally, I find that Primal was much more enthralling in this one because he was calm and he was the one that had to make the hardest sacrifices in the film. Prime, on the other hand, was just a bit too bloodthirsty for me. Like there weren't enough moments wherein we could just let the kind and gentle Prime shine underneath his violent exterior. It was a shame that we couldn't get more conflict between Prime and the Autobots, as Bumblebee could have easily served as a foil to Optimus's bitterness towards their situation, as there was this one scene wherein the two were discussing about their place in the world and Bumblebee provided an opposite perspective to Prime. But no, we have to dedicate more time to developing the humans, but I'll get to that later. Mirage was a cool character. Like, I was surprised by how much I actually liked him, but he's a bit too one note, and at the end, he ended up becoming a prop. Again, I'll get to that later. The other Autobots were disappointing. This is one of the smallest casts of Autobots in the film series, and yet they don't have all that much character. They all ended up being props to set up cool action scenes. They have this cool new Autobot that they hid from a ton of the main trailers, who turns into this big plane and nothing. Nope. Nothing special about this character. He's literally a prop designed to carry everyone else in him. Wheeljack, lamest Autobot design. Like, why did you give a robot suspenders? RC, robot female. That's pretty much it. If you thought the Autobots were bad, don't make me talk about the Maximals. These guys barely had any speaking lines outside of Primal. Like, Ares, sure, she got a ton of lines, but she was just the exposition machine to get the characters from point A to B. She didn't even get to transform once in the film. Heck, the other Maximals only transformed a handful of times, maybe 1 to 2. The Terrorcons, only Scourge was the villain of interest, and he was really cool for an antagonist just meant for Prime. But outside of that, he was okay. Pretty intimidating Transformers villain. But Unicron was wasted on this film. He wasn't at all threatening outside of the film's opening. Like, I didn't really care for him. He didn't even transform. I don't mean to sound like I hate the film, but I wanted to watch a Transformers film for the Transformers, and therein lies the issue. The human characters got way too much focus for this film. Again. They keep coming up with convoluted ways to get the humans involved. Noah even wears the skin of his dead friend, for crying out loud. And another issue I have is that the stakes feel forced. Like the impermanence of death just ruins the stakes, and the fact that I never quite got attached to one of the characters makes one of the more heart-wrenching scenes feel wasted. Speaking of things that feel wasted, they were even trying to set up a G.I. Joe crossover. No offense, but I could care less about G.I. Joe. And honestly, this is not the time for it. The Autobots were barely developed, and now you want to introduce more humans in the mix? That animated Transformers movie cannot come at a sooner date. Overall, Rise of the Beasts was a good action flick, but it lacks substance over its mountainous amounts of style. It gets a 7 out of 10 for me. A good Transformers movie, but I feel like we deserve more.